Welcome to the Hallspace Podcast. It's about connections. I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, and this is a weekly conversation about whatever and however I see to connect things. For people who want to connect, chat, and learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Without further ado, let's start the show. And we're back.
Hey there, welcome back.
Hey there, welcome back to the Hallspace Podcast. And we are live and in color for the first time in a couple weeks.
Welcome. Yeah.
We just cannot get the flow back.
Yeah.
There was a time it was so much easier.
It was. Then just stuff be happening.
Life be happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And life doesn't stop because you think you want to make a podcast. Things happen and you're like, yeah, let's do that. And then it's like, oh, no, but I got to live my life.
Oh, yeah, no, we won't make it in time. It's already so late.
Yeah.
I can't even remember why we couldn't do it last week.
Just distraction. I got distracted. Things got distracted.
Oh, that's right. And then it got late. Yeah.
And then the world blew up because Will Smith out Kanye West on
he absolutely
national TV. I remember I was sitting in here working on something at the time, and you came in and was like, "Is this really happening?
Have you seen this?" Yeah.
And I was like, "No, what?"
And then it was late.
Yeah.
Because normally by that time I would have been asleep, but we were up. We had kids had gotten home.
Did we have the kids yet or no? I don't think we had the kids.
We didn't.
I think
have
it
the
happened
kids
pre-kids. Like what? It's like everyone will remember where they were when they found out that Will Smith be slapping people.
The slap around national TV. No, but when I saw it, I was like, "There's no way that I could have seen it and you couldn't, because you be on the pulse of social media stuff."
Yeah,
but you're like, "What?"
Yeah, I was actually actively not in social media. I was working on a different project at the time,
and I wasn't. We don't watch live TV, so
yeah.
And I mean, if I was watching live TV, it wouldn't be the Oscars anyway.
So, right.
So yeah, I think my cousin sent it to me, and I was like, "Oh, Speak Kaya, check her podcast out. It's great."
Yeah. She has a commercial on our.
She does. She's awesome. And she sent it. She was like, "Is this real?" And I'm like, "Is it? I don't know."
It was hard to believe that it was real. I'm still struggling with the reality of it personally.
I am too.
Like I know they say it's real, and it could have happened.
They say, but I mean, but there's this big old conspiracy in the back of my mind that's like their teams got together and Chris was like, "Yeah, I'll let you slap me on TV," and Will was like, "All right, your ticket sales gonna go up."
Yeah, I mean, there has been a soft benefit to it happening to the man.
You can't get to a Chris Rock show now without the ticket sales being
yeah. But I mean, I would he have been okay with being humiliated? He did play Pookie, and he had to get smacked in the face as Pookie, right? Like, Ice-T smacked him in the face.
let him have it in them. I mean,
So
I mean, there's a part.
But this isn't him playing Pookie. This is him as I am Chris Rock doing my thing on TV.
But if it's a role, it's a role.
Yeah.
I mean, at the expense of, honestly, I feel like with him having been bullied and all of that I feel like that could trigger so much in you. I don't know that he would agree.
Did we even do introductions?
And we didn't. Who are you?
Hello. My name is Ritch Hall, and welcome to the Hallspace Podcast. And I'm here with my lovely and capable co-host, Nicole Hall. Please say hi to the people, Nicole.
Hey there.
And it's funny because I titled this episode "Wherein we try not to talk about the thing that everybody's talking about," and then we immediately started talking about the thing.
I mean, and it's exhausting because we've been talking about it all week.
And I'm a little burnt out on it, to be honest.
There is definitely
there's less
fatigue.
Juice. Yeah, in that fruit now than there was Monday and Tuesday
and Wednesday. One of the things that our cousin Anicia posted was, "I'm already exhausted by the many think pieces coming." Yeah, because there's obviously going to be a lot of talk about it, a lot of articles, a lot of
and there have been
there
have been all of those things.
And
all of those things have come to fruition. As have I. And I've been very fascinated by, everybody has an opinion about it. Like nobody doesn't have an opinion about it.
Right. And
it's definitely a thing where people fall on one side or the other, or have some sort of view on it.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where the more I read the more I could see both sides of it.
Yeah.
I still have my personal feeling about it. But of course there are two sides to every story and two ways that you could approach things, and human behavior is
messy.
I was going to say it's not black or white, it's always gray. So so yeah.
It's interesting that, I can condemn violence in that, we're not supposed to go around smacking people
You
in the
shouldn't
face.
do that as an adult.
But people definitely go around smacking people in the face. But on the other
hand,
and I am a firm believer that anyone on this planet can do something that another person could deem worthy of getting you smacked in the
100%.
face. That doesn't mean that they should. But we all could do something.
There's
a thing we could say or do that would make another human being smack us in the face. Now, sometimes those lines are very fine and it's very easy to cross them. And other times it's just, wrong person, wrong time.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of things that have happened in my past that I wish I could backsmack them. Bad bosses.
Yeah.
Weird strangers, road rage, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. We all have the impulse for violence in us.
We do. But I think also depending on where your journey is and your, maturity level, all that kind of stuff, there are instances where you are like Will Smith, like just fed up. Just up to here with
we can understand most human beings can understand that.
Yes.
Even if they cannot understand the actual act he took, the actual smacking of a human being.
For those of us who don't act out on those frustrations, it is like, oh man, we're not allowed to do that. You can't do that.
You can't do that.
And yet, to say just smack this guy.
People do it.
Talk about his wife.
There is something to be said for, should a person be allowed to act upon the level of insult if they feel their wife has been insulted?
Right. And I think that I've seen many takes on it. There was Courtney B. Vance was talking on the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
And
I sent you that.
He said, you did. And he was saying, they better not come for Angela, right? Angela Bassett is his wife. But
he had a very graceful
he did.
approach.
In saying that, he said, we've worked too hard. We're not going to give them the reaction that we want. They're apparently at this airport, and this lady, he's like, listen, if you recognize us and a whole bunch of people will recognize us in TMZ and all, please just give us some privacy. We're just trying to go home.
Yeah.
And she's cussing them up and down and having a fit and following them through the airport. And he's like, don't give her what she wants, because what she wants you to do is backhand her and body slam her in the airport. So, I mean, I understand both sides of that. Like, you want to be graceful. You don't want to give them that energy, because ultimately you're exhausted at the end of all of that, right? All that anger and that rage. But on the other hand, who do you think you're talking to?
Right. Every now and again, the human in you wants to step up and defend yourself.
The human in you, right?
And we've created this society where, you can't actively engage in violence, that it's all considered violence.
No.
Even though it's you're very often asked to face an affront that, you should be able to do something about. There, like I said, there are things somebody could say to you that's genuinely going to make you want to destroy them.
Yes.
Like, because that's being a human being. Like,
right.
People act as if sticks and stones cannot hurt.
Right.
But we all know words can cut deeply.
They can, especially if if I'm going through something and you've seen me
you have an awareness,
and I have
you have an awareness of what that person's personal pain is.
You know what it is, and this guy that's supposed to be your friend.
Yeah, I fundamentally believe that that intimate knowledge is what can make you capable of violence, and what also should make you not be violent. And yet, what's so interesting about the self-righteousness of people who denounce the violence is America is a violent country.
Well, I mean, and specifically America, I mean, and even if you go all the way down to it, hashtag Oscars so violent. I mean, come on.
Come on. I mean, not just the Oscars, like your bananas and your avocados and your strawberries come with violence. Like, someone is
absolutely. Your diamonds come with all of that. I think all those for the Oscars to be like, I can't believe, he smacked somebody, but you're giving Harvey Weinstein like Oscar after, like, come on.
Yeah. And we put such a nice veneer on our oppression and, straight up racism and straight up sexism, and because they all got there and looked all nice and with proper decorum. And I think, one of the things I've been fascinated as I've seen this unfold in the conversations that have been had is there is a significant shift in my lifetime of the way people examine these events. So to hear people saying, we should not focus on the white gaze with regards to this incident, which is what I felt almost immediately.
Right.
Like, oh no.
Well, because there's that part there. I mean, there's always been this thing, especially for black people
is don't
act out in front of the white folks.
Don't act out in mixed company.
Don't act a fool in front of mixed company.
That was ingrained in us from a very young age because there were significant consequences. So in some ways, we've come a very long way as a nation because
we could say, hey,
a black man was able to smack another black man on national television without it becoming, a lynching or a instant kill situation. So the fact that it was allowed to happen in some ways says that we've advanced, because there was a time
they never
Hattie McDaniel wasn't even allowed in the building, and if she had acted up in any way, they would have definitely tossed her out on her keister.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying
if not more.
The advancement of the race means that we get to get away with bad behavior, because I don't believe that to be true.
No.
I was also, I was just struck by the nature of these are two people who've known each other for over 30 years having a fight in front of all of us. So it felt very much like watching your uncles get into a fight. Like, that's
exactly what that was.
Like, this is bad for the family.
Right.
So even though I will say I do not conscribe to all black people the actions of Will Smith or Chris Rock.
Yeah.
I do feel the trauma and pain that evokes in us as a black community, because, we don't like to watch when the family feuds. Nobody wins when the family feuds.
Right.
And so it was very difficult in that regard.
Yeah.
And there was a level of vicarious trauma for a lot of people. I think that's why we've been talking about it so much. It's very, like you said, it's very soap opera-esque. There are layers of, how black people are in there, and our propensity for, correction, physical correction when there is a slight. There is within it the trauma of both Chris Rock and Will Smith that is on display. There is Jada Pinkett being just straight up demonized for whatever reason, a variety of reasons, for being involved. So there's just so many layers in this.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people that didn't like the idea that he was defending Jada at all, even based on their past sort of. They've been very open about their relationship and their lives and things like that. And a lot of people were like, he done walked up on the stage and smacked this guy for her, and she been embarrassing him for
years.
Yeah. So I get that part of it too, but
and America loves a good righteous moment too. They love a good somebody said something messed up and they got their comeuppance almost immediately. Like, America has, we forget, but America was very much a dueling culture.
Well, yeah.
Right? It was very much
that's what they did. It's like, you have offended me.
We are a nation.
We are meeting at the top of the hill at dawn.
We are a nation where the vice president shot the guy who made the treasury. We have a play about it. Everyone loves Hamilton. But that was like the founding fathers of the nation used to go out with pistols at dawn. Like, let's settle up, bruh.
And that
what
was
you talking about?
Considered the classy way to do it, as opposed to brawling outside the bar.
Right. As opposed to just punching a person in the face.
We're gonna go to the hill and
with a second, and you bring your second, and we're gonna walk 10 paces.
We're gonna have a doctor to get the
shoot at each other, and only then will this be resolved.
Yes.
So this is a nation that was built on violence. Like, we had to straight up murder the British to get our independence. We had to straight up shoot at each other to make that independence stick. And, we had to brutalize an entire nation of black people and Indian or Native American people. My apologies. It's still in there. The Chinese people helped us to build the railroads, and we were like, screw you for that. Like, we genuinely like to oppress and brutalize and murder.
That's how we get land. That's how we
advance as a people.
Yeah.
And so when people are like, violence isn't the answer, it's like, but you don't mind state sanctioned violence. You don't mind systemic violence.
Honestly, don't say that to black folks.
Yeah.
Just don't.
And part of the reason that we've learned violence so much is ingrained because of white supremacy. Like, it was genuinely fed to us that we should be kept in line with a whip.
So just kind of stay out of this conversation altogether.
Yeah, they can't though. They genuinely cannot. And that's what's so
can't.
interesting about watching this unfold is,
I mean,
I understand how hard it is. It's been hard for me not to, like, I jokingly told Nicole, it's been so hard going to work on Monday, knowing that Will Smith is out there smacking folks.
Yeah, that Monday was really horrid.
Like, I gotta concentrate on other people's problems.
I mean, that whole
these memes just keep rolling in.
The memes are coming in.
The memes were fire. Let's just talk about how quick people are.
Undefeated.
Like, they got that Photoshop trigger, just like hand over the buzzer. Like, let me just get some memes out there as fast as possible.
They had videos going.
Right. There were videos, like photoshopped pictures and images.
I'm so sorry that both sides are going through pain and embarrassment and things like that, but it was so entertaining.
It was mad entertaining.
It was super entertaining.
I felt so bad for being so entertained by it.
Yeah,
in part because I knew there were lives involved.
Real lives, real people.
People with significant trauma on both sides.
Yep.
And one thing that America has trouble with, even though America is really good at being an abuser, the American public has a difficulty siding with the person they see as the abuser. So even if two people did something wrong, got into a fight, we have to fundamentally choose sides. It was always a thing that I struggled with in recognizing how people are. It's like somebody has to choose sides, somebody has to be a winner, somebody has to be a loser. Right now, Chris Rock is considered the winner because he dealt with it with class, and Will Smith is the loser for losing physical control. And yet it was a very well controlled slap. Like, as far as slaps go, he definitely controlled himself.
And Chris Rock,
he didn't overslap him, he didn't underslap him, he just hit him one good time to let him know he was standing there as a man in front of him. And I know that my response is the result of being raised on violence. Like, I was raised with, I could get popped in the mouth. So for me, you shouldn't pop people in the mouth. I've never smacked my own children in the face.
We don't do that here.
But
you understand?
Am able to condone, not necessarily sanction, but like, oh, okay, somebody got hit. I guess it had to happen.
Ooh, probably shouldn't have made that joke.
Yeah, because within our community, there is a level of, you might, if you didn't know, now you know.
Punks jump up
to get beat down.
Yeah.
F around and find out.
Right.
Like, that's a core
person.
Tenet of being a Black person in America. Like, you don't get the benefit of not knowing. There might be physical consequences for your ignorance.
Right.
And apparently Chris Rock found out there were consequences.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing, is I kept hearing in a lot of things, like, everybody's all freedom of speech and cancel culture. You can say what you want. Feel free. The government's not going to show up and stop you from saying things out loud. But what might happen
is a person
might smack you in the face.
That your butt
and other things that could happen to you. I mean, not the worst thing that can happen to you. As a person who's been smacked in the face, demoralizing, embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm still here. I'm not saying people should go around and be smacked in the face.
No, it's traumatizing.
It is. And I think I can acknowledge all the sides of that it is traumatizing. It is wrong. It also happens. I think one thing about the Disneyfication of America is that we often just forget. Like, people are out there getting hurt all the time that we just flat out ignore.
Well, I think
within a mile of the convention center that was happening in, somebody was getting smacked in the face.
Well, I mean, and I think that's part of our trauma as a culture, right? I mean, it's like,
humans have a history of traumatizing other humans.
Yeah. I've been smacked in the face. No, that's not okay, though.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that always gets me is
not okay.
We went through all the trouble of creating a society, hopefully to protect ourselves from the dangers that is the greater planet around us, wherein, violence is happening all the time. Like, cheetahs got to eat. So what do? They like traumatize a gazelle by ripping its throat out and eating it. Like, we forget that human beings are creatures too, because we created all these amenities. And that's not me saying, oh yeah, so then, we should murder occasionally. No, I mean, in order for me to eat, something has to die. So my survival requires,
unless you're vegan,
a level of, no. Do you think strawberries want to be picked? No. Plants can scream. Plants can grow in ways to avoid predators because they need to survive just as much, right? Like, plants adapt to predators. So do you think asparagus is like, oh no, my babies, when they get pulled from the ground? We forget, though. We idealize, like, no, nobody's hurt.
Plants can scream.
Certain plants scream. Certain plants emit sounds. Yeah. I don't remember which, but I do remember reading about that. Like plants have all these defense mechanisms. They do things to let other plants know, like, hey, don't grow over there. Bad stuff is happening. Or hey, let's just like form a different color because then this bug won't eat us. Like plants are trying to survive just like every other creature living on this planet, from plankton all the way up to, blueberries. They're just trying to exist.
Okay.
And so are we. And so we got to murder them.
There's also a circle of life, but I think there's
we don't give them the benefit of sentience. And so for that, they got to go. Tofu's got to go because we don't know if it has thoughts or not.
Circle of life. We'll chalk it up to circle of life, right?
And occasionally violence happens in that circle of life. I mean, we are technically, in Ukraine, I think,
is it violence or is it
human beings commit violence on other human beings?
We do, but I feel like if it involves the circle of life, it has a certain purpose, so it's not
considered
deemed as
wanton.
Violent. Yeah,
it's not considered senseless.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly, and which is different, right? So it's like you don't have to smack him to eat or to live or to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and so my interpretation is, and that, once again, I could literally take a deep dive because I read the Will Smith book.
Mm-hmm.
I've been following him for several years. I remember finding out that Chris Rock was in therapy and that he has a disorder where he understands that he does not understand emotions and people's reactions well, which makes him a very sharp comedian, but also means he crosses lines frequently with people. So he's a habitual line stepper, right? And I know that Will Smith has trauma from his father being abusive. And so he grew up in an abusive household. I know he has this interpretation of himself as a coward. And so he's looking for opportunities to step up for his family and for his people. I know that, he's been on an emotional and spiritual and psychological journey for the past few years, trying to rediscover who he is.
Right.
And that Jada was very against him, sacrificing his career sacrificing the family for the face of his career. And so he wants to stand up for his family more. And so he does this role, King Richard, to sort of take on that general role that he
protector. And
the protector. And then this thing happens and he's like, you know what? I'm not gonna let my career get in my way. I'm gonna smack this guy in the face. And it's the worst decision he could have made at that time.
It is.
But also a decision that a lot of people make.
Yeah.
And I feel bad that he's going to have consequences for it. I feel bad for Chris Rock for the consequences that he's going to suffer, even though they're all going to still remain rich Black people.
Yeah.
For the near future. I don't believe that this has completely destroyed his career, but it is definitely. I also believe Will Smith could step away from his career at any time and be fine.
He's going to go to sleep on mounds of money. He'll be fine financially, but emotionally, both of these guys are. Have experienced this traumatic experience.
And I think that's another, like, so many, I remember seeing so many takes of people like, he's an abuser, he's evil, he's all these things, as if you haven't actually had an impression of him for the last 30 years.
Right.
One action does not necessarily erase the entire history of a person. I think sometimes, once again, the internet outrage culture is very quick to jump on a singular event as characterological of an individual. He made a mistake because we have this affinity for him, because we've known him for 30 years. It's like, oh no, he stepped outside himself for a second. I can forgive him for that if he repents.
Well, and honestly, he was immediately apologetic.
Well, not immediately.
He was.
No, he still gave a speech. It was like, hey, and then later, within a day or so, he was apologetic.
During the speech, he was upset. He
didn't really apologize. He was upset. He didn't apologize. He didn't say, hey, Chris Rock, I'm sorry, I smacked you in the face just 10 minutes ago. I think that added to the surreal nature of it, because we've created this society where we're like, hey, people, these celebrities are going to stand in front of you and act and not be themselves. So he could smack a dude in the face, go sit down, continue to laugh his way through a show, get up and get an award. Everybody else is like, oh, okay, I guess that was a bit, that was part of it, because we've created this very surreal, he's him and he's not him, he's somebody, he's playing a character, and all that collides in this moment where he genuinely smacks a person he's known for 30 years in the face, and now it gets digested through the big machine. But if he wasn't an actor, like if it was just a person to person interaction, we wouldn't have been so stunned. I think also it wouldn't have been, oh my god, that was Will Smith.
Right. It would have been, oh, that's that thug, blah 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 blah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Yeah. Will Smith's out here smacking folks in the face.
Yeah.
What's sad is he did that, and now like all these petty comedians are like, now I'm just gonna go ham on Will Smith. Like now he is a target more than he ever would have been. Which is like why that's why you take the high road. Yeah. Jada's been a target. Jada's being a target. Like I don't like to toss around things like toxic misogyny or misogynoir or anything like that. I feel like you got to really earn those with me, and I'm not saying those aren't out there. They do exist. I don't 100% believe that this incident was toxic masculinity. I believe it's born out of masculinity and some of the bad parts of masculinity, but is this like a pervasive issue of people smacking each other in the face? I mean, it filters through this a similar lens, but I'm just
more complicated than that. I think
one thing toxic about it though has been people came for Jada and she didn't smack anybody in the face. And they've been consistently coming for Jada throughout this. She's a villain. She's the worst. And why would he do this for her? But also, I mean, that's his wife. And I know many a husband who would go to bat for his wife for considerably less.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people were like, after she did him that way. Now, if she hadn't had the entanglements or whatever, and they thought she was a doting wife, I think this would all be a different conversation.
I do too, but I also believe that's his wife. In that way,
he made
a choice on his wife. Yep. There are many choices I will make for you that ain't nobody else got to understand.
Yeah,
that's me and you.
Yeah,
against everybody.
The world. Yeah,
right. Yep. Me, you, and them kids, and so that part I will always understand.
Yeah, yeah.
In a way that many people who are single, many people who are not married with children, have not been raised in this Black experience. That is, I do need to protect you from some things. Will I mess up? Will I make mistakes? Will I fall short? Absolutely. Yes, but in the end, if I feel anything is a threat to you, that thing has to disappear from the earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I might not be right in that. That might be my toxic masculinity flared up, but you had 3 of my children. I will always make sure you are okay. I chose you out of every other person on this planet at some point.
Yeah. We created a thing, and so did they.
Created an entity.
They created a thing.
Us, right? And if something challenges that,
like a serious challenge,
that I might hit that. I might hit that thing before it gets a chance to hit me.
Yeah,
is that it? Should a joke about G.I. Jane and it's like
he was attacking her illness, and that
it was a bad joke. Was it the worst joke? It wasn't a good joke.
Yeah,
once again, in the layered nuances of all the things that are happening here.
Yeah,
it's like I know, like we'll tell a story after we come back from the break, but there have been situations where it's like, oh, I could have destroyed that person, and what do I do?
Yeah.
That immediately come to mind when I think about this. But it's like we all, once again, I feel like everybody has a zone you don't want somebody going into.
Yeah.
And if they strike at that, I can't say you are. I am still accountable for my actions.
Absolutely.
But I might act out of character.
Well, and you know what? I mean, if my actions are warranted, good or bad, I might stand behind it. Like this is why I did it.
And I feel like everybody
take those consequences.
I feel like people who don't believe they have that zone
are the ones you have to worry about.
They just might not understand something about themselves.
Well, yeah. I mean, and then they'll get there and not even know how they got there. Right. I know what my triggers are.
And I believe that we all have a responsibility because of society to hold ourselves back from those actions. But I also believe we all have a place where something might make us act out.
Yep.
And so it is my thing, and once again, I've had moments in my life where it's like I forgot that I don't actually know Will Smith because he's been in my life since I was a teenager. It's almost as if he is an extended family member whom I've never actually met in person. And there's much larger conversation to be had about parasocial relationships there, this idea that we feel this emotional connection. And just like, once again, it's like I said, it's like an uncle fighting another uncle. It's like, I love you both. Why would you do this?
Why are you doing this to each other? Yeah.
Right. And I have a reflexive need to forgive both of you because, I mean, in my mind, it could have been worse.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when we see the boys fighting each other or, any of the kids fighting.
Family fights.
Yeah. It's like, come on, y'all, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I get why he did it, but you can't do that.
Right.
It's not how you react. Like, it's a whole.
Yeah. And so for me, it's not condemn everybody. It's, oh no.
How do we get here?
How did we get here? And how do we get back? Have we gone too far? That was my immediate fear.
Yeah.
Have we gone too far?
Yeah.
does him smacking him in the face on live television just irrevocably destroy whatever shred of a relationship they had?
I mean, was it destroyed before he even got up there?
Yeah.
I mean, if you feel so led to get up and smack a person because of what they said about your wife, is there any way that they could have been like, and maybe that's why he smacked him in the first place, like, oh, this friendship is dead, you done talked about my wife, you know what she's going through,
right?
I mean, sometimes it doesn't have to be words it doesn't have to be the physical altercation itself, but what led to the physical altercation that says, okay, I mean, clearly, like Courtney B. Vance said, we don't move in that circle anymore. Yeah.
Which would have been the higher road to take.
Absolutely would have been the higher road. Absolutely.
But when we come back from the break, I will talk about a moment where someone in our life did not take the high road, and I will try and do it in a de-identified way. But join us after the break on the Hallspace Podcast.
See you soon.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the second half.
Welcome. Oh, wait.
Is there sound on?
Yeah, I just messed something up on the thing here. Welcome back to the Hallspace Podcast. I'm your host, Ritch Hall, and I'm here with my lovely and capable co-host, Nicole.
Hey there.
Hey there.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us for the Hallspace Podcast. We were talking about the thing we tried not to talk about, and then couldn't think of anything else to talk about. And
we're still defragging from it, so
yeah. And much less like we were so passionate about it the first night.
Oh yeah,
and then
I almost wanted to record that night.
Yeah, but it was like super late.
It was
super late. We could not do this. We have to work tomorrow.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, we should do it Monday, but work.
Right.
School kids.
Right. Life is still happening. Yeah. Which is like I said, it was so hard to go to work the next day and not. Nobody wanted to talk about not nobody, but like none of my clients talked about it. No. We had to all talk about their problems.
When my coworkers made a joke about it, like, just talking about it being everywhere, I was like, okay, be careful.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the thing. Like,
I'm okay with that. I'm good.
There were so few people that I could like bring it up with that I would feel comfortable enough to like, can we discuss this with a level of nuance that I'm not going to feel some way threatened?
Gosh,
by you saying the wrong thing here.
I miss going, you always have your work husband or your work wife, whatever. I miss being able to go to work and be like, did you see
Did you see?
I mean, you and I were like going back and forth all day.
Right. I was sending all the memes I could find.
Oh my God,
and you were sending me. We were just
and I kept saying,
I'm
not going to send them anymore. I'm not going to send them anymore.
And
but
then
something
else
would
come through,
this is so
and you'd be
good.
like, "This is happening."
Yeah.
Which is, once again, we are able to turn it into entertainment because we're so used to being entertained by these people.
But there were also a lot of different. I feel like we send each other a lot of different nuanced views of it. Like, I don't watch The Real at all. I don't care for any of those the conversations, whatever, but they had a very good, well-balanced take on it. Go to YouTube and check it out. Garcelle Bouveau, Lonnie Love, and those girls had a really good chat about it.
They did.
And I felt like there were a couple of other like Instagram folks we followed that had good takes on it, or just well-balanced thoughts.
Yes.
So it was entertaining, but there was also something to be said for trying to understand this behavior and see the different viewpoints on it. Just all kind of fascinating to me.
Right. Yeah. So I was going to tell a story here. This is a house hall theater of a time when we did have an incident with a person that did end up in a bit of a scuffle.
We had this almost exactly a
similar kind of
situation.
Similar kind of situation.
Yeah.
I could set up my side of it, and then I'll toss it to you a little bit, and then I'll get us home. Okay. Way back in the before times. Like, honestly, if I mention the date, we'll lose half the people who might ever turn the internet on to watch this, because this was like 90s, right?
90s.
This was like 99, 98, Christmas 98, 99.
Christmas 98.
Christmas 98.
1998. Not 2008.
Yeah. Christmas
not
1998.
2018.
So over 30 years ago.
I was gonna say, I keep adding the decades up. Okay.
Right. 30 years ago, Nicole used to wrap presents for her aunt and uncle. I don't remember. I don't think they paid you for it, because I remember thinking it was straight up exploitive when they were just and she was in college. We were both in college, and we were dating.
And I remember my grandmother was like, they didn't get you anything.
And they would they would bring over their presents and ask her to wrap them, and she would do that for them.
Yeah.
And she had this friend, I'm not going to say his name on air.
He ain't on the internet.
And he used to try to hook up with Nicole back before me, but had been turned down and placed squarely in what most dudes now call the friend zone. And I remember feeling somewhat bad for this guy, because I had been that for so many girls that I understood his plight.
I didn't friend zone you.
And we were similar creatures. Like, we were cut from similar cloths in my mind. We were two light-skinned gentlemen, little geeky. He was a little more geeky than I was. Definitely. I remember, like, I had a bit of more edge to me, because I had just sort of learned to not be so,
He wasn't quite as shaved down as you.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. And he was, he could be nerve-wracking. So I could take him in doses.
He was condescending.
Yeah. And I have a bit of a condescending tone, so I can understand that.
You do.
Well, that's one of the walls that people like me have learned to put up, being a child, when you have a bit of an intelligence and people make fun of you for it, but also it gets you rewarded in certain circles. So you just sort of learn to have that kind of, well, this is what's really happening tone.
Yeah.
And
he had that turned up.
It protects 10, you. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I get it. I kind of got, dude.
I didn't know that's.
Yeah. I mean, and some of it's just, you're kind of born with it. My oldest son has it, and he's his own individual, but he has
the middle kid, you mean?
No, Ra has the condescending tone.
He does. Well,
he talks to you sometimes like he knows what he's talking about. You're like, you don't know what you're talking about at all, buddy.
I think both the sons do that.
Yes, both sons have it.
All the kids do it.
They're all capable of it. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Victoria's a little bit more bubbly, but Ra has a somewhat.
He's 100% square in the right, and that's just
unwilling to yield his ideals.
He believes what he believes, man.
And so this guy comes over. I'm just going to call him Tony for the sake of the story, so I don't have to keep trying to like spin around his name the whole time. So this guy named Tony comes over to help Nicole to wrap presents, and he used to just do that when he was in town from school. He went to college elsewhere.
He would come over
to hang out with her, but at this point, she had a boyfriend. Friends. Which she had not had before.
Yeah.
And
especially
as I said before,
Christmas time, I didn't bring. We were in college, so
and she didn't normally bring guys
college
around.
randos home. You can meet me at the dorm, but you just definitely can't come see my grandmother.
Right. And so I had been allowed unfettered access to her life, which was new for them.
Yeah.
For her grandparents and for this guy Tony, right?
Yeah, because up until then they weren't sure which way I went. They're like, oh, she's not dating any boys. I'm not bringing them home to you.
Right. But, which raised all those murmurs that happen in a household back in that day, where it's like, is it a dish? Are we sure she has girlfriends? But no boys.
That Keisha keeps coming over.
Right. And so, she's wrapping presents. I'm there. He's there, and he starts doing that thing that snake guys do, where they try to rely only on inside jokes. And I know her better than you.
Immediately intimidated by you. Immediately.
Well, because I know that in his mind, he thought, what does this dude have that I don't? Because we looked at each other and we're like, oh, okay, I know a guy like you. I'm like literally right next to the guy like you. In my school, I'm you.
Right. Yeah, but and
it's not true, but you can like when you do that immediate assessment, it's like
that's not the assessment I made, but
But I mean, sometimes you just don't have it. And a lot of times, guys assumed because I like you, you should like me back. And why would you like anyone else? And then you meet a dude who looks kind of like you, another light-skinned gentleman
you're like, but why?
With a big head. You're like, wait, why does that dude get access to you and I don't?
Yeah.
And so he immediately snaking. He's saying all this like rude stuff
He's very snarky.
Bringing up inside jokes and old memories and old boyfriends. Well, and Nicole's trying to play it classy.
I am trying to play it classy. I mean, he was a friend. Mm-hmm. So of course he knew about all of my random guys that I dated during college.
He had history and he was relying on it.
But so I mean
to intimidate me.
I had told him a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But he only chose to bring up the other inside stuff about the other guys that I had dated
to try to make me feel like I wasn't for real.
Special. Yeah.
Which I didn't care
even though
about.
Clearly you're at my grandmother's house during Christmas. So
I have transcended most of the other guys who come along.
You went very far. You met
and I don't usually feel threatened by stuff like that. Like I know the game he's playing. So we talked a little bit in the show before about how when it comes to conflict, I sort of analyze who's the person coming at me and why. Mm-hmm. And in his, I just saw, oh, you're being small. And that, I understand.
You do that.
I can't say I've never done that when I'm around some girl and her boyfriend shows up and I'm like, I've been trying to talk to you for months.
You like this guy?
You like this guy? This guy? I'm going to try to be a jerk about it. But, I also was afraid of getting punched in the face. So I would tend to measure my steps in a situation like this. Mm-hmm. And at some point, this guy goes too far in this conversation. Nicole and I at that point have been dating for I think a couple months, like not even a couple months, but like I still had the like, okay, you can't talk to my girlfriend crazy, like and the whole time I've been just kind of measuring like, okay, where's the line where I'm going to get upset with him? But let's for a second break down this dynamic. I'm in her grandmother's house. She's already told me that many dudes were not even allowed to cross the threshold of her grandmother's house, let alone be allowed to hang out there on the weekends, right? So I know I have a coveted place in this situation. Mm-hmm. I've hung out with her brother at this point. Like,
man, y'all were like...
So like a lot of things are lined up in this point in the relationship that I'm like, I don't want to break any of this.
Right.
Her grandmother's living room has knickknacks in it and all kinds of... It's a precious space.
Glass, quiet.
Yeah.
It's a very sacred space. It's like... We weren't allowed as kids to sit on that furniture.
But now as adults, we're in there wrapping Christmas presents.
Yeah.
And this dude, Tony, comes out of the side of his mouth to call Nicole a bitch. Now, in his mind, he didn't think he was calling her a bitch, but he did say the word.
He absolutely said.
He said, I'm glad you met Richie because you used to be a bitch.
Yeah.
And
just to you,
the room got quiet.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the thing about it, right? There is, and I don't know if this isn't specifically African American culture, but sometimes like girls will be like, bitch.
Yes.
Oh,
there are words you could use.
There are words that you can use. There's the tone.
Yes.
There's the intent behind that word.
Your familiarity with the person.
Yes, there is a level of connection to them. And he thought because I had known him since 10th grade and we dated briefly in 10th grade. We went to one of those,
and talked a little bit.
Yeah, we did like a homecoming thing and then it just didn't work out. It just, wasn't right, whatever. But we maintained our friendship because we're both nerds and part of the same nerd programs.
Yeah.
And
we're able to share, and with regards to
exactly
computer programming, they were both in computer programming.
Yeah. And so when he went away to college, he was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm leaving you. And I'm like, we're friends. It's fine. We're not going to, I didn't want to do anything long distance. And so it's like, no, but we can be friends because we like talking to each other. And then he went off. He started dating another girl. I really liked her. I went down and I met her and, all that kind of stuff. And so I don't know what happened, but I thought he was dating at the time. And he came back home to visit his family. And I'm like, oh, come on, we'll come hang out. My grandparents will be here. You get to be my boyfriend. And so, he was a jerk the whole time. And he says, bitch. And I'm like, I know he can be snarky. I get that. And it was kind of like the whole moment where Chris Rock makes the bad joke and, like you see Will like, huh. And then he's like, and then it sinks in what actually was said. Yeah. And then you kind of feel the intent behind it. And so that's exactly what happened. Cause I was like, I feel like he just called me a bitch. My whole countenance changed.
Yes. I
and
remember
he
that.
noticed that. I got very dark real fast.
You need to go. It is time for you to leave. She tries to kick him out.
I attempted to kick him out. Yeah.
And he's like,
no,
it was just a joke. It was just a joke.
No, it wasn't a joke. I mean, because at this point, you've been rude all night. Yeah. You've been a jerk all night. So there's this buildup, right? Similar to the situation where he had made a joke about Jada.
He's been making jokes
earlier in the night.
Many years. He has made multiple jokes.
He's made multiple. So all that stuff counts. All that stuff adds to your line stepping, if you will.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting at the bottom of the stairs, like, I think it's time for you to go, bro. But I'm trying to be
She's asked you to leave.
I'm in a precious space here. Like, I can't overstep.
Because you're at my grandparents' house and you don't want to disrespect the fact that you've been taken into this very private, special place.
Yes.
Because my grandparents' house was a very private, special place.
And so I don't want to disrespect that.
Yes.
But I look up the stairs and Nicole's brother Mark is up there. And as always, he's shirtless because that's how he lived his life. But I watch him put on a shirt with a smile on his face.
And I don't know what's going on.
She can't see it. I can see it.
I'm just trying to get this nigga out of my house.
I'm thinking, I'm not going to have to handle this dude.
He can do it.
I think he can do it. And he comes downstairs in full manly bravado. I mean, this is one of the stories we tell, like, literally.
It's all the time.
2 to 3 times a decade.
It's a great story. It's a great story.
Our brother comes downstairs and walks over this dude. The dude's still sitting on the floor, kind of in this kind of like,
he's like on his knee, just joking.
And, Mark stands over Tony and says, "Who called my sister a bitch?" Like, he didn't come for me.
He had walked right past you.
And I just kind of let the dude go. Like, yeah, go ahead.
Because what he did, which is what Ricky Smiley was trying to say about the Chris Rock thing, was give him an opportunity to correct the situation.
Yeah.
And so my brother says, "What did you say?" Basically, kind of like how mamas do, like, say it again.
Yeah.
Because I'm giving you an opportunity to not get mollywopped here.
Yeah.
So.
And the guy, Tony, says it was just a joke, which is often what people say when they've offended you. It's like, I don't think of it as humorous. My intent is not to harm you.
It's
so
just
you should not be harmed
joke.
or intended. You should change your perception because of my intent, which is not how harm works. Typically.
That's not how it works. When you're harmed, you're harmed.
People are harmed. Now, sometimes people do get harmed over the slightest of slights, but
they do. But you can't take it back.
You should,
once it's out there,
correct yourself. Be like, oh, my bad. I would never want to harm you. This dude doesn't do that.
And that's,
Tony doubles down with, and it seems as if he does not understand what's happening. And
I don't know why you mad.
Yeah. Mark is punching him.
Oh, man.
Repeatedly. Pummeling him repeatedly across the head and shoulders.
He punched him. He gave him the crispiest punch to the jaw.
Yeah.
And
I'm just standing back watching this guy get punched in the face.
I mean,
I could not punch him.
Mark, it's a 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it was
some solid. He rained down some solid blows.
He did.
I cannot fight this man in the grandmother's house. Mark lives here.
Mark lives here, and Mark's the baby. So
So he gets some freedom to act out in this space that I do not have. And I just watch it unfold. I could have stopped it at any moment. And
you could have stopped him from leaving the stairs. And that's why I was like, did you see him come down the stairs?
I was like,
he's like, yeah, I let him walk past me because I knew what he was going to do. I knew what he was going to do.
I knew he was going to get the retribution and justice that I did not feel comfortable getting in this space.
Yeah.
Because, we haven't been dating that long, but I feel like no matter how long, I shouldn't let this random dude whom I don't know, they have history.
Call me out of my name. Yeah.
But if he calls her out her name and
it's offensive,
ain't cool like that,
right?
That he can do that, and she gets offended. I'm supposed to do something about that.
Yeah. And you did. You let my brother go down there. So he's like, he's punching him and he's knocking him out.
Yeah, Nicole.
And then my grandparent. Listen, y'all. We're in the living room, and this is a 2-bedroom house with an attic and a basement.
Yeah.
So it's 1,700 square feet, whatever.
It's not that big.
It's not that big. And so they hear this kerfuffle.
Yeah. And they come running out.
And they come out.
Yeah. And Nicole's jumped in the middle of it. And I remember her grandmother's like, stop it. And they stop Mark from fighting this man. And I remember he like collects himself.
And he's doing like this.
Yeah, because he's gotten punched
a few times. Yeah. Some solid.
And I'm like picking up his coat and be like, yep, it's time for you to go, man. And the ladies are all tending to Mark, and it's one of those, they've all they're like trying to calm Mark down because Mark is still ready to like fight him.
Hey, because what he does not do, my brother's a lot of things. Yeah. What he does not play about is me.
Yeah.
And his mama.
Yeah.
And now his wife and kids, or ex-wife. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that was that's not.
So yeah. That was the story of a time where someone did call my wife something that earned that man a punch in the face, and I didn't deliver it because I didn't know what to do in a situation where there were so many dynamics at play.
Yeah.
And I was trying not to get myself put out of her grandmother's house forever.
Yeah. Well, and I think that was one of the things, like, because we are complex creatures, there are so many things that once something has happened and you had an opportunity, I've never thought, for the most part, that you would ever let someone truly disrespect me, especially if it's a guy.
Yeah.
You would never let a guy disrespect me.
Yeah.
Especially like that. Right. Like, because that's like in your face, like,
blatant,
very, very blatant. Right. And so, I didn't.
I mean, and once again, I recognize I'm raised from a different era where, you put hands on people for certain things. And I'm not a fighter. This is not me saying, hey, Rich gets in fights and
he does not.
Anybody who steps
he does not
step to me.
No, you do not. But
I do have an internal instinct that is, I might have to
this is not yeah. Something. I feel like you're not a violent person, but we've been together a long time, y'all. There have been many instances where you've stepped up, like, hey, you're not gonna treat me or her any kind of way. He's not a fighter.
I'm definitely a smile and wave, let's keep everything nice, and
we're not gonna act a whole fool, but don't test me. Right. Well, and it's kind of in the vein of Courtney B. Vance. He's like, what he should have done, what I would have done was okay. Okay. And then after that, he said, catch him backstage. Don't you ever, never in your life, talk about and I feel like when somebody says that about their person, don't you ever put your mouth on my wife. Like, I feel like that,
keep my wife's name.
Woo.
Your mouth.
Well, the way that Will Smith did it was like he was just frustrated, kind of like a petulant kid. But like the way Courtney B. Vance said it in that video, like, like that whole backstage situation where it's like very private. Like,
I feel like I would have more handled it as a backstage.
You would have handled it that way.
He would have came in to hug me, and I would have been like, yeah, man.
Don't you ever in your life.
Hey, look
don't
here,
you
bro.
Ever. It's very similar to the
final time.
Everybody's got that wild kid that if they go in the store, they act a whole fool. Like, I've had very me and Victoria moments. Like, listen here.
Look here now.
In your whole entire life, you're not gonna go in here and act a fool.
Right.
You're not gonna touch nothing. You're not gonna do
like, no, and that talking in the mic. You gotta watch.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, I mean, but do you ever know what the mamas are saying when you see them have that conversation? No, but you know her face is very serious and her energy is very serious. You know the tone. And I feel like those kind of moments, listen, I'm all about. When I defend people,
I think that's the way we've been raised. We've been raised that there is a moment where violence or the threat of violence is necessary. And I know society has advanced to the point where people don't believe that. But like threats still work, and we should be gentle parents out here. We should be gentler.
Oh, because it sounds like I'm threatening the kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
do.
Also, I don't do any. I don't
physically harm them.
I don't ever physically, but there definitely are consequences. And there's this level of disappointment that I have if you go against what I'm asking you to do. It's very serious, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I feel like, we're, for a lot of people that are, husbands, wives, parents, kids, like if you do something to my kid, I just go on and have my bail money ready.
Yeah, no, there was a story.
There was a story last week
of a woman who
locally
drug a child by the hair,
a 1-year-old, by her hair,
scalp, and then tried to
glue it back.
And I said, "Yep, that is definitely a Nicole would have attacked a person.
It's on video.
She would have
daycare.
She would have moved all the furniture in that daycare if she had picked Victoria up and had her hair been removed from her scalp.
Listen, I sent it to my chat group, my friend, my people.
Yeah.
Just gonna have my bail money ready.
Yeah.
Okay, because what I'm going to do
from the authorities to pick up my children from the
she's got a bald spot with glued hair on her.
Especially if y'all saw the video and y'all know who did it. Oh no.
Oh no. I couldn't watch the video because I'm upset, and that ain't even my baby.
Yeah.
But I'm upset for the other mother.
Yeah.
Like, just I feel like, I mean, you are definitely like I'll handle it backstage. We're gonna have a conversation that is very real.
Yeah. You don't have to see me.
Yeah. Listen, but like I'm
gonna catch up with you.
I'm gonna definitely catch up with you later.
Nicole was a lot more impulsive and fiery.
I am. I'm one of the things that as I've grown and as I've gotten older, and I feel like this is something that you said to me, is like whenever someone made fun of your mama or your grandma or whatever, it's like they don't know me.
Right.
And I feel the same thing. And I feel like that's something that I've said to the kids, because I know that they'll go to school and they'll say,
it becomes such an immediate trigger.
Yeah, because it's like my mom is my, but it's like, you don't ever have to defend me. They don't know me.
Right.
They don't know me.
And I know Ethel was always big enough to fight her own battles.
And they don't, right. Thinking, and they mamas don't know me.
You never justify me fighting for your name. So
yeah, please don't do that.
Never fighting for your name.
I don't ever.
Kids would always hit that button, and I worked with kids.
That's what they do. That's what they do. Yeah. But I don't ever want our children to feel like they have to defend it or feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about it. I don't care what these kids say. You don't care either. Okay, that's that's just kind of
provide you with a layer of protection. It's the idea. It does. You have to learn to overcome the words people use, and I do think in an advanced society we should. I just know everybody thinks society's further along than it is as humans. I mean, I think so many of the problems of the last
still human.
2 years, 3 years have been tribalism and all these things that just make humans.
There's an animalistic nature that you have, that
lizard brain at the bottom. That's just like, I need to attack things and fight things and screw things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how, what, and when. It's just, we got to give into that nature. And I think we do have that front brain, that cerebral cortex, that allows us to think clearly and plan and develop societies, but everybody ain't that far yet.
Everybody's not, in their journey, they're not all there in that way. I mean, and honestly, it's like you said, it's like, when you hear all of these different ways that the situation could have been handled, like one of the things that Garcelle Bouveau said was, what he could have said was, she's got alopecia, blah, blah, blah. He could say so many. Yeah. But in that moment,
that's not what happens to humans.
That's
humans
when you're in that moment, right?
I don't think he knew what he was going to do in that moment.
He had no idea. He had no idea. He was surprised by it, and his mom was surprised by it. And that is his mother. And like moms know, like,
we've known
the behaviors of her.
He does not normally do things like
he does not. And that's why they didn't see it coming. That's why we're all surprised by it. That's why we're still kind of talking about it. And that is also why we should give them a little bit of grace, right? It's like, it's not like he's walking up on the stage smacking folks all the time. If Suge Knight had gone on the stage, he's in jail now, but if he had done that and smacked somebody, would have been like, oh, it's Tuesday. Huh?
If Kanye West had done that, we'd be like, oh
man,
he's the reason that people are so upset is the portrayal of the image we projected onto Will
We've
Smith.
Created this idea in our head of who he is based on what he's presented to us,
and that we've venerated him in a way that makes him inhuman. And so if he acts human, it's like, oh, you're one of us. How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you fall so far so hard?
We thought you were so much better than us.
Yeah. It's the idea that nobody's better than anybody.
No, because we're all humans,
and we're just trying to get by.
Yeah.
He just happens to be a human with millions of
He
dollars.
had a really bad day, y'all.
A really bad night.
Really bad.
It's probably
night.
There's a part of me that's like, ooh, all that therapy, all that sweet therapy money that's going.
How far does that set you back, right? Like, how does that?
Oh, it's just in my head. It's like, oh God, yeah. Like to be his therapist would be just money rolling in. Yeah, we're gonna get an emergency appointment tomorrow. All right, I know on Monday. Like, I'm assuming you need an emergency appointment for this.
Now I remember going into to one of the therapists, and he was like, "You just went through a crisis. Need to see you twice a week." And I need to be seen twice a week.
Yeah.
So.
And what's sad about this is this has made me think a lot more about. And honestly, I've spent the last week checking on a lot of people about knowing that people could be at their breaking points after all that we've been through in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And that we kind of need to do more to take care of each
other. We do, especially the people, like they say, that seem strong, the people that always seem to have it together
and all
and they're smiling. There's so many people that are they're in those situations and they're
high functioning, and yet they might be dealing with a lot of emotions and things that we don't understand because they never disclose them, because they always seem like the happy person. And it's made me I checked on like all my mentees this week. There's one I can't remember his email, and so I've been looking for it in my email.
But know him.
But I went and checked on all my other mentees just because it was like, hey, how are you doing? You've been okay? You've been
good? It's important to do that.
A while, just because it's like this made me reflect on like, hey, make sure people are okay.
Make sure your people are okay.
And try
especially the people that seem very strong. Yeah.
So it's like this moment of people keep calling it this moment of assault, and it is on the books. It's assault. Made me think, oh, black men might be in trouble. Let me check on them and make sure they're all right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way that I could think to respond that would allow me to feel some measure of, okay, this isn't
something coming out of this that's helpful. Yeah.
And I even 100%. Had a conversation with someone about like, there's a need to build like a community of people who support each other. And how do I do that? How do I make that one of my next steps so that
a good
these issues
space
aren't allowed to just sort of fester,
proliferate,
aren't allowed to come out in this way, and that when someone does act out, how do we embrace them and keep them from going further or falling further? Particularly someone who's like, no, I respect you. I don't want to see you having these kind of problems. So
I think that level of care, that level of understanding is kind of what a lot of us are being called to do.
It's
right?
Definitely what black men need. Because
absolutely,
we get so much flack for not being manly enough, for not being, or for being too aggressive, and not being manly enough.
And there's underlying reasons for all of it.
I've been thinking about like I need to have like a full like breakdown conversation with someone about these ideas we have about masculinity and how unhealthy they've been, and how that
it affects you.
But I haven't quite figured out how to have that conversation yet, so I'm framing that for a different day.
For Psychologize You.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a Psychologize You conversation. It's rich and meaty in themes. And with that, this is probably a good place to wrap up. Now that I'm talking about a whole other podcast on this podcast, would like to thank you all for joining us for this conversation.
We really appreciate it.
To talk about, but
it is not. But it was a good conversation. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
But with that, you know what the music means.
You know what the music means. Our time is up.
I say good day, sir.
I say good day. And I was not prepared. I should have been more prepared.
Wait. It's all right.
The Hallspace Podcast is brought to you by Hall Productions, LLC. Show notes and credits can be found at our webpage, thehallspacepodcast.wordpress.com. Any questions, comments, or concerns can be sent to us at thehallspacepodcast@gmail.com. The show is written by Daggerpin Davis. Music is curated by DJ Cabal. The show is produced by Chuck Jones and recorded at Slash and Trash Studios. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a good week.